Welcome, chosen one. Sit with this for a second before you scroll past it. You've felt it, haven't you? That strange sensation of being watched without anyone ever admitting it out loud. Eyes that linger a half-second too long. Screens that go quiet the moment you walk by. A silence that follows you into rooms like it arrived before you did. You thought it was paranoia. It wasn't. You thought it was your imagination running wild. It never was. They are watching you. Every move, every pause, every quiet exit, every calm response to chaos that should have broken you. And here's the part they'll never admit. Not to you, not to each other, not even to themselves in the mirror at night. They are not watching you because they think you're weak. They are watching you because you terrify them, and they don't understand why. Before we go further, press like and subscribe, not because a video asked you to, but because paying attention back into the universe is how signals like this keep finding the people who need them. That's not a favor to me. That's a signal flare for the version of you that's about to understand something most people never do. Let's name what's actually happening. When someone becomes impossible to predict, impossible to provoke, impossible to rattle, the people around them don't relax. They tighten. They start watching more, not less. Because unpredictability isn't comforting to people who need control. It's a threat. And you, quietly, without trying, without performing, without asking anyone's permission, became exactly that. Unpredictable, uncontrollable, unreadable. And now they can't look away from you, even when every instinct tells them they should. Think about the last time you walked into a room and felt the temperature shift. Not because you said anything dramatic, not because you announced yourself. You simply existed there, calm, unreadable, and something in the air changed anyway. That wasn't your imagination. That was the sound of people recalibrating in real time, trying to figure out what you know, what you've noticed, what you're planning, when the truth is simpler and stranger than anything they've guessed. You're not planning anything. You're just done performing for people who were never watching you out of love. They were watching you out of fear, disguised as curiosity. Here's the pattern, chosen one, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. People only study what they cannot categorize. Nobody spends energy analyzing something predictable. Nobody re-watches a person they've already figured out. Nobody replays a conversation with someone who behaves exactly the way they expect. But you stopped being predictable a long time ago, and that single shift rewired how every person around you interacts with your presence. You went from being someone they thought they understood to someone they now quietly study, like a puzzle they can't solve and refuse to admit they're stuck on. This is where their fear actually comes from. Not from anything you did to them, from something you stopped doing for them. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped shrinking to make them comfortable. You stopped performing certainty you didn't feel, just to keep the peace. And the moment you stopped, they lost their map. People don't fear strength directly. They fear losing the ability to predict strength. And that's exactly what happened here. So now, picture it like a moth, circling something it doesn't understand. It isn't drawn to the flame because it wants to be burned. It's drawn because the light doesn't behave like anything else in the dark room it's used to. It keeps circling closer, keeps watching, keeps returning, even as some old instinct screams that this is dangerous. That's what you've become to them. Not a threat they can name, not an enemy they can point at, just a light they cannot stop circling, even though staying this close scares them more every single day. Let's talk plainly about what surveillance actually means when it isn't official, when it isn't cameras or paperwork. When it's just people, ordinary people, checking your page, mentioning your name in rooms you're not in, remembering things you said months ago like they've been replaying it on a loop. That's not admiration in its purest form. That's dread, wearing admiration's coat. They watch you the way people watch a storm on the horizon, impressed, unsettled, and quietly hoping it doesn't turn in their direction. Here's a question worth sitting with. Why does a person who claims to have moved on know so much detail about a life they supposedly stopped caring about? Why does someone who insists you don't matter still flinch at your name? The honest answer is uncomfortable for them, so they avoid it. Real indifference is quiet, because it's true. What you're seeing instead is a performance of indifference stretched over something closer to fixation. And performances, no matter how convincing, eventually slip. Drop a 77 in the comments right now if you already feel this. Not for luck, not for superstition. As a marker, a way of telling the algorithm and telling yourself that you're one of the rare ones who can sit with a truth like this without flinching. Because what comes next isn't comfortable. It's clarifying. And if you're still here, that tells me you're ready for it. Number 1. Why they can't stop checking on you even when they claim they don't care. This is the part that would embarrass them if they ever said it out loud. The people who insist you don't matter to them anymore are somehow the ones who know the most about your life. They know what you posted last week. They know who you were seen with. They know things about your schedule they have no business knowing, because indifference doesn't require research. Real indifference forgets. It moves on. It stops checking. But obsession disguised as detachment keeps circling back for one more look, one more update, one more confirmation that you haven't disappeared. Imagine someone claiming they've thrown away a letter, yet somehow able to recite it word for word months later. That's not distance. That's a script memorized out of fear, not love. If they truly didn't care, chosen one, they wouldn't know. The fact that they know is the confession they never meant to make. And every time they check again, they're not gathering information about you, they're managing their own anxiety about a person they never fully understood. Number 2. Why your silence reads louder than anything you could say. You stopped defending yourself a while ago. You stopped correcting every lie, stopped explaining every decision, stopped performing outrage on command. And that silence did something they didn't expect. It removed their evidence. Every argument needs a reaction to point to. Every rumor needs a visible crack to widen. You gave them neither. Imagine trying to prove a fire is spreading while standing next to something that simply refuses to burn. That's what your calm does to their narrative. It starves it. A story that can't be fed eventually turns on the people telling it, because an audience only stays interested in a fire for so long before they start asking why it never actually catches. Your silence isn't absence. It's a room with no oxygen for their version of events to survive in. Number 3. Why they study your calm like it's a weapon they're trying to reverse engineer. People who thrive on chaos assume everyone secretly wants to react the way they do. So when you don't, when pressure hits, and you stay level, they don't read that as peace. They read it as strategy. They think you must be hiding something, planning something, holding something back. Because in their world, nobody stays calm without a reason. What they can't accept is the simplest explanation of all. You're calm because you already made peace with things they're still terrified of. Imagine an apprentice watching a craftsman work without ever once looking rushed, convinced there must be a hidden trick to the smoothness, when really it's just years of no longer needing to prove anything. That kind of stillness cannot be copied by someone still at war with themselves, and no amount of watching will hand them the years it actually took. Number 4. Why your absence unsettles a room more than your presence ever did. There's a particular kind of quiet that follows someone who used to explain everything and suddenly stopped. When you're not in the room anymore, when you don't chase the conversation, when you let people wonder instead of reassuring them, something shifts. They start filling in the blanks with their own anxiety. Imagine a stage where the main performer simply doesn't show up, and the audience is left staring at an empty spotlight, unsure whether to wait or panic, unsure whether the show is over or about to begin somewhere else entirely without them. That's the effect of your absence. It doesn't create relief. It creates a vacuum. And vacuums are unbearable for people who need noise to feel safe. They'll fill that silence with worst-case guesses about what you're doing, thinking, or planning. Because an unanswered question is harder to sit with than almost any answer could ever be. Number 5. Why they keep bringing your name up even when nothing forces them to. Watch closely and you'll notice it. Your name surfaces in conversations that have nothing to do with you. It gets dropped into rooms where you're not present, brought up by people who insist they've moved on. That's not coincidence, that's residue. When something genuinely stops mattering, it stops coming up. Imagine trying to avoid mentioning a name you've truly forgotten. It's nearly impossible to bring it up by accident, because forgetting doesn't leave fragments lying around waiting to surface. The fact that your name keeps resurfacing, unprompted, uninvited, tells you exactly how much space you still occupy in minds that claim you take up none at all. They're not talking about you because you're irrelevant. They're talking about you because you're the one variable in their story that never quite resolved. Number 6. Why the version of you they warn each other about isn't real, but it's the only one they can process. Somewhere along the way, they built a story about you that has almost nothing to do with who you actually are. A version that's colder, sharper, more calculated than reality. They did this because the real explanation, that you simply stopped needing them, is too uncomfortable to sit with. It's easier to imagine you as something manipulative or dangerous than to admit you just grew past the need for their approval. Imagine someone painting a portrait of a stranger from second-hand descriptions, then hanging it on the wall and becoming genuinely afraid of the painting. That's the version of you they warn each other about. It was never accurate. It was just easier to fear than the truth, because fearing an invented villain requires no accountability, while facing the real explanation would. Number 7. Why testing you has become their new favorite hobby, and why it keeps backfiring. Small comments dressed as jokes. Passive digs disguised as concern. Situations engineered just tense enough to see if you'll crack. This is testing, chosen one, plain and simple. And every time you don't take the bait, every time you respond with something closer to boredom than anger, it doesn't discourage them. Strangely, it fascinates them more. Like touching something hot, expecting pain, and instead feeling nothing at all, then reaching out again just to make sure the first time wasn't a fluke. They keep testing because the absence of a reaction is more unsettling than any reaction could ever be. A flinch would confirm the old map still works. Your steadiness tells them the map is useless, and that thought is harder to sit with than any argument you could have handed them instead. Number 8. Why your patience gets mistaken for permission, and why that mistake always corrects itself. For a while, they may have believed your restraint meant they could keep pushing, that your calm meant weakness, that your silence meant surrender. But patience and permission are not the same thing, and eventually the difference reveals itself. Imagine water sitting still in a container, mistaken for having no pressure behind it, right up until the moment the container cracks and everyone realizes how much had been building the entire time. Your patience was never a green light. It was simply the shape restraint takes before a boundary finally gets enforced, quietly, without warning, and without needing to explain itself after the fact. Number 9. Why they've started mimicking your calm and failing every single time. You'll notice it if you look closely. People around you trying on a version of stillness that isn't natural to them, trying to look unbothered, trying to seem unreadable, trying to borrow the exact energy that unsettles them so much about you. It never quite lands. Imitation without the internal work behind it looks stiff, forced, performative, like someone reciting a language they memorized phonetically without understanding a single word of what they're saying. Real calm isn't a posture. It's the result of no longer needing anyone's validation to feel steady. They can copy the stillness on the outside. They cannot copy what created it. And the gap between the copy and the original is exactly what keeps drawing their attention back. Number 10. Why they've started treating distance from you as a survival strategy. At some point, confrontations stopped feeling like the safer option. Getting close enough to challenge you directly started to feel riskier than simply keeping their distance and hoping you stay unaware of how closely they're still watching. This is the quiet retreat people make when they realize direct conflict costs them more than it gains. Imagine circling something from a careful distance, close enough to keep observing, far enough to convince yourself you're not really invested. The way someone paces around a locked door they're too afraid to knock on, but too curious to walk away from entirely. That's the tightrope they're walking now, and it's exhausting them far more than it's affecting you, because maintaining a safe distance while still needing to know everything takes constant, quiet effort. Number 11. Why the moment you stop noticing them is the moment they panic the most. For a while, they needed your attention almost as much as they feared it. Being watched by you, even briefly, even accidentally, meant they still mattered somewhere in your world. But the day you genuinely stop noticing, stop reacting, stop factoring them into your decisions at all, that's when something shifts for them completely. Being feared by someone is uncomfortable. Being irrelevant to someone is unbearable. And your indifference, real and unforced, cuts far deeper than any confrontation ever could, because a fight at least confirms you still see them as worth fighting. Number 12. Why your growth feels like an accusation to people who refuse to grow themselves. You didn't set out to make anyone feel small. You were simply focused on becoming steadier, clearer, calmer, more yourself. But growth has a strange side effect. It becomes a mirror for people who stayed exactly where they were. Every version of you that improves, without needing their input, becomes a quiet, unintentional reminder of what they chose not to do. Imagine standing still your whole life and watching someone nearby keep moving forward without asking for company, without looking back, without needing an audience for any of it. Eventually, the gap itself starts to feel like judgment, even though you never said a word, never compared, never once made it about them at all. Number 13. Why the watching turns into something closer to reverence than fear over time. Here's the part that surprises even the people doing the watching. What starts as suspicion doesn't always stay suspicion. The longer they observe someone who refuses to break, refuses to explain, refuses to perform for an audience that never earned a seat, something shifts in how they talk about you when your name comes up. The warnings get quieter. The mockery loses its edge. What replaces it is something closer to a grudging, unspoken respect they'd never admit to your face. The same way people stop laughing at a storm once they realize it was never going to hit them, and start watching it with something closer to awe instead. They're not rooting for you exactly, but they've stopped rooting against you as loudly, because somewhere along the way, watching you became less about waiting for you to fail and more about quietly hoping to understand how you never did. Number 14. Why the watching won't stop, and why you no longer need it to. Here's the truth underneath everything we've covered tonight. Their attention was never really about you. It was about their own inability to look away from something they can't explain, can't control, and can't stop circling, no matter how many times they tell themselves they don't care. You don't need them to stop watching. You don't need them to understand. You don't even need an apology or an explanation for any of it. What you need, and what you already have, is the ability to keep moving forward while they keep standing at a careful distance, still studying, still whispering, still unable to look away from whatever it is you've quietly become. And the strangest part of all is this. The day it stops mattering to you whether they're watching at all is the exact day their watching stops being about power and starts being about something they'll spend a long time trying to name. So here's where we land tonight, chosen one. They don't know what you are. That thumbnail line wasn't just a hook. It was the truest sentence in this entire video. They can't categorize you, and they hate that. They can't predict you, and it terrifies them. They can't stop watching, and somewhere underneath all of it, they already know how this ends. Not with revenge, not with confrontation, not with some dramatic reveal. It ends with you simply continuing to become more of who you already are, while the people still circling from a distance never quite work up the nerve to get any closer. One thing worth saying plainly before we close: if watching this made you feel unsettled about a specific person in your real life, a family member, a co-worker, someone you actually depend on, take a breath before assuming the worst about them. This format is entertainment, built on universal feelings of being judged or watched, not a diagnosis of any real relationship, and real concerns about trust are worth talking through with someone you actually trust, not just sitting with alone. If this found you at the right moment, let it land. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, drop your 77 in the comments, and share this with the one person who needs to hear that being watched isn't the same as being weak. We'll see you in the next one, chosen one. Stay steady.